you cannot change people. Right? The element of change is the individual, not you. And once you understand that, then you are there to guide them and then let them take their journey.
And welcome back to another episode of Attractive Mindset. And today's guest came all the way from up north, and we are super excited to have her here. And in our first conversation, she just stood out not only from the profile that she had on the famous OWL app, shout out to Jason Hill, and we had a really good conversation, which led to another conversation, which led to her coming on the podcast. And so I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about herself. Miss Cleo, set yourself free.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. My name is Cleo, and I am originally from the Virgin Islands.
Hey.
Yes, originally from the Virgin Islands. And then I moved here about 15 to the United States. And I went to Jacksonville University. That's where I got my degree in psychology and sociology. And then I began working in the field of substance abuse. So I did that for 16 years.
Wow.
And then following doing that, I decided, I wanted to work with people as a life coach. And so I became a life coach recently. And that's what I do now. So I work with people. I could work with people in substance abuse, but primarily my focus right now with coaching is helping women that are overwhelmed with being emotionally stuck get unstuck so they can have that emotional freedom.
Very nice. And so this is going to be a great episode because you are the first psychologist / life coach that has been on here.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm not a psychologist.
Well, but studied psychology.
Yes, I did.
That's been on here.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit, about your upbringing, because I like to really ask the questions of, to see if that really affected how your mindset works.
Okay. Well, as I said, I grew up primarily in the Virgin Islands, and both of my parents are from the Caribbean. So the upbringing there is definitely different than here in the U.S. Things are definitely different, but we focus mostly on family values. So, and, I had both parents in the home. I grew up in a Christian home, and education was was a top priority.
Top tier.
A top priority. So that was one of the things that I focused on a lot. And but yeah, it's different, but it's similar at the same time, so yeah.
Okay. So would you say growing up in the Virgin Islands versus raising your kids here is a dramatic difference?
I would say so, because they have a lot more privileges than I had growing up. And then part of the time I did go to another island and lived there for a couple of years. I lived in St. Lucia as well. So that the lifestyle in the Caribbean is a bit different than here. We played outside. Like, I grew up playing outside and doing things like that. My kids, they're indoors. They don't like to go outside. They rather play video games. But for me, I was outside playing around, playing in the dirt, playing with your friends and stuff like that. And I was talking to them the other day, and I say, you guys don't even know, like, ring games. Like, we used to play ring games, growing up, and they're looking at me like, what? Ring games? What are you talking about? So yeah, it's definitely different. Here versus, living back home. It's a different culture. The principles sometimes are a little bit different. There's certain things that you're just structured and you have to do. Versus here, I'm a little bit more relaxed with them than my parents were with me. They were stricter.
Yeah.
But here, they're living the high life. Things are different for them. Definitely.
And so, does it ever get hard to not do what your parents did?
I work on being different, because not to be too strict,
Hmm.
right? Not that they were bad parents. Let me say that first. They
Hmm.
weren't bad parents, but they were a little strict.
Hmm.
So I don't want to be as strict with my kids, but I still have to make sure that they follow certain things, that they understand that education is a priority, which is similar to my parents. But I give them a little bit of leeway. I'm not as firm with them as my parents were with me, which is not a bad thing, like I said. But
Got it.
yeah,
So, growing up, were you ever into sports or you just mostly academics?
I was mostly academics. I tried sports and I sucked.
What sport would you have liked to play?
I tried volleyball when I
Mhm.
was in high school, and yeah, never didn't do good with that. But if I could play a sport, I would probably run, do track, or try out at basketball. I think that would be fun.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm not a sports person.
Got it.
Not this. I don't have the skills. I'm more of a people person. You got to stay where
Hmm.
you have to stay where you're good. So
Hmm.
I'm more of a people person, listening to them and helping them navigate their issues versus playing on in anybody's sport.
Hmm. And so, how important is culture to you to really keep those cultural ties that you have?
Culture is very important to me. I I want my kids to know our culture,
Mhm.
where we came from, understand the history behind it. I want them, we cook traditional Caribbean food at home, and they listen to Caribbean music. But I want them, like I said, to know their history, know where they're from, go visit the islands and see, how I grew up and
Mhm.
things of that nature, because it's definitely different than what they experience here. So I want them to be well rounded.
Got it. So, Cleo, going into college, what made you choose psychology?
Well, to be honest, that's part of my story of how I got into coaching, the motivation to help women. I actually started out as pre med.
Hmm.
I did. I love the medical field, and I was pre med and I failed my chemistry class.
I feel like that's all Caribbean parents push us to go, med or something in that
Yeah,
field.
something in the field, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, yeah, I can do this. I'm gonna do this, and I failed my chemistry class, and that was one of the first struggles that I had to deal with, was not succeeding in a class academically, because I was always good at stuff, and then failing that class really hurt my self esteem and my self worth at the time,
Mm.
and so I started experiencing the fear of failure as a result.
Mm.
And so I had doubts. And of course, I switched my major. And that's how I ended up in the field of psychology, because I said to myself, you can't do this. You're not going to excel at this. You might as well quit now, because if you can't do chemistry, you won't be able to do any of the other math classes. They're a lot more difficult. And so that mindset was an issue, clearly, and it caused me to transition from being in a pre-med class and going into psychology.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, at what point in taking psychology were you like, okay, this is for me?
Well, I actually always liked psych. I liked it. I had it in high school. I liked it. I was good at it. I enjoyed the classes. So it was just like the next best thing,
Mm.
for me. So I always enjoyed it. It wasn't my top choice at the time. I just thought, hey, I'm gonna go pre med. I'm gonna become a pediatrician,
Mm.
and that didn't happen.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, after you graduate and you have your degree, what's the next step from there for you?
So once I graduated, I ended up actually, while I was in school, I ended up interning for a substance abuse agency,
Hmm.
and that internship led to me staying on the job, getting a job with them. I worked as like a monitor tech. That's what they call them back then. Now they call them behavioral health tech now, and Once I graduated, then I became a counselor.
Mm.
And so I worked in the jail, with clients that had substance abuse issues, various substance abuse issues. And then after that, I transitioned and worked with people who were specifically opiate dependent. And so I worked at a methadone clinic for a few years, and
Mm.
then I transitioned into back into residential. So that kind of I kind of stayed in the field the whole entire time. But like I said, I always say that field chose me because
Mhm.
I was not intending to go into the field of substance abuse.
Got
But
it.
um, after working there and interacting with the clients that were there at the time, I just stayed. It took me a while to get used to it because it's challenging. Let me tell
Mhm.
you, working with people with substance abuse issues. And I remember my first day, when I was actually working, one of the clients like cussed me out because she was upset about something. I didn't even know what she was upset about, but I just happened to be there.
Mm.
And she took her anger out on me, and I was like, I quit. I don't want to do this anymore. And one of the counselors said to me, "Yep, you can't quit. You have to stick with it.
Mm.
It will get better." And like I said, I had already had that issue with failing at things, and I
Mhm.
thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fail at this again. I'm out of here. But I stuck with it and work through it, and I was able to become a really good counselor working with the clients.
Nice. And so, how hard is it to, or is it hard to really balance your own mental state while dealing with others that have issues with their mental state? At that same kind of correlation, you're trying to help them, but they're kind of offsetting a distribution of weight to you.
Right. So I am really good at um making the setting boundaries. I think that's the best way to say it. So I know what's their stuff and I know what's mine, and
Mhm.
I'm not going to pick up their issues. So I have worked with clients, and they will dump on you. They will emotionally dump. They'll come in and they'll be like, "Oh, Miss Cleo, I just gotta talk to you right now," and this and that. And I have to say, well, no, you can't talk,
Mm.
to me right now. You need to go through the process of, going through your counselor or what have you before you speak with me, because they will have that time where they just want you to listen to them, and you have to take care of yourself
Mhm.
first. You can't help them if you don't take care of you. So you have to stay, emotionally grounded and know that, you cannot pick up their issues. And a lot of people find that challenging because they want to help people, right?
Mhm.
You want to help them, you sympathize with them, and then you end up getting yourself into trouble, right? Because you're overly helping them, you may break the rules for them or whatever. And I often tell people, you sympathy will get you in trouble.
Yeah.
You have to have empathy and have good boundaries so that you don't cross over when a client says something to you. It's okay to empathize with them and help them, work through their issues, but you cannot own it as your own, because if you do, you're going to be having your own emotional issues yourself, because you're absorbing all of their energy, you're
Mhm.
absorbing all of their issues throughout the day, and you cannot help them if you're carrying their baggage and your baggage as well. So yeah,
Got
boundaries
it.
is important.
And so, do you ever find yourself in a tough spot when dealing with friends and family that you see go around the same kind of path?
um no, not really. When it comes to family, I tell them, if they ask me for suggestions, I give them, suggestions, and I leave it at that,
Mhm.
because that's the other thing too. You can get burnt out the same way. So you have to be able to establish that boundary and allow them to work their issues, and know that you cannot change people,
Mm.
right? The element of change is the individual, not you. And once you understand that, then you are there to guide them and then let them take their journey.
Got it. And
hmm
so, at what point did you now make this realization that, hey, I want to go and pursue life coaching?
Well, I always found the field to be interesting,
Mhm.
and it had been a few years. Took me about 10 years to actually step out and get the certification, but I always found it interesting, and I wanted to do it. And but I also love my full-time job, right? And I
Mhm.
was dedicated to that, and so I spent a lot of time, in that. And then finally I said, you know what? You have a lot of qualities, and you have a lot of value. And on the particular employment that I was lastly, I said, because of some of the things that I experienced with them, I said, I don't have to, stay here and deal with this. I have a lot of knowledge and experience, and I'm wasting it kind of sorta. I can utilize it in a different way,
Mhm.
to help people in a less restrictive manner.
Got
So
it.
that's when I decided to make that shift and become a life coach.
Got it. And
Mhm.
so, what, by your definition, is a life coach?
So a life coach is kind of sort of, I guess the best way to look at it is, with sports, right? You
Mhm.
have a coach that teaches you or guides you with um, the how to make the plays and how to, practice and stuff like that in order for you to make your goal, right, which is to
Mhm.
win the game. So the same thing as a life coach, what they do is they guide individuals to reach their goals. They hold them accountable, just much like, in sports your coach will hold you accountable.
Mhm.
And so they don't play the game for you, but they guide you and they give you the tools that you need in order for you to become successful at whatever sport you have. So the life coach does the similar thing, is to help guide you, help you, like I said, work through your goals, and they help hold you accountable as well.
Got it. And
Hmm.
so, when what would your target audience of personnel look like? Who comes to, or who would need a life coach?
Um, well, for Cleo, it would be a woman who is experiencing being emotionally stuck. So that could
Mm.
be emotionally stuck in grief, maybe resentment, feelings of low self-worth, anxiety and depression, not clinical, of course, because
Mhm.
I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist to prescribe or diagnose, right? We don't diagnose as coaches. So they may be experiencing a lower level of depression or anxiety and need like some coping skills to work through that. So but yeah, that would be the ideal client that would come to me to seek help, would say, I'm experiencing these emotions. um I don't know what to do with them, or I don't know how to work through them so that I can heal, so that I can be emotionally free. And so that person would come, and then we would work through whatever issues are holding them in place and keeping them stuck from achieving that emotional freedom.
Got it. And so, once somebody comes to you, do you
Mhm.
have a different set of packages, a different set of services, or is it kind of just, hey, this is the structure of my model and this is what we go through? And we have kind of, do you do grouping, individual? How does that work?
Okay, so I do have individual coaching, and I also have group coaching as well. And I also have a 90-day program for that includes a workbook that I created called Set Yourself Free using the triple P's. And the triple P's are passion, a positive mindset, and perseverance. So that's like a bigger, more intense package where I'm working with them one on one. We're meeting weekly to work through the issues that, again, keeps them stuck emotionally. So those are the packages that I have for clients.
Got it. And
Hmm.
so, typically, where would you find your clients, or where would your clients find you? How does somebody see you, or how do you put yourself out there?
Okay, so I have a website. They can meet me at coachingwithcleo.com. Also, set yourself free on Instagram, and also set yourself free on Facebook as well. Um, those are really the major avenues that they can see me. And I'm also on the Owl app, by the
Okay.
way. That's another thing. I can't forget that. I'm also on the Owl app. So if you want to, have a consultation with me, you can speak with me through there. Or you can also go to my website and you can book a consultation there as well. And it is free. So we get to talk a little bit, talk about what you're going through, and then we both get to decide if it's the best fit.
Got it. And so what made you choose to just, accept women versus doing both men and women?
Well, they say you gotta find a niche. They said, because off the bat, I'm gonna be completely honest. Off the bat, I was like, I can help everybody. I can work with men and women because it's true. I can work with men and women. I've been doing it the whole time I've been counseling, right? But when you get a coach as a coach, you got to get a business coach,
Yeah.
and the business coach says, you can't help everybody.
Mm.
You gotta narrow down your niche. And so I struggled with that, honestly, at first, like I said. But eventually I said, okay, I'll work with women. And that's pretty much how we got there. But I can work with both, but just that's the niche.
Got it. And can you do it virtually or are your sessions
Yes.
physically?
My sessions are actually virtually.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't do in person.
Okay.
So yeah.
And how frequent would these sessions be? And from, do you have a certain age group that you target specifically?
Um 18 and older.
Okay.
Women that are 18 and older.
Mhm.
I don't really do younger people. I work better with that age group. And what was your other question? I'm sorry.
The other question was like, how long are the sessions
Oh,
or how frequent?
okay, so the sessions are 1 hour.
Okay.
And if you take my 90-day package, they're 1 hour and they're weekly for 90 days.
Got it. And so what results do you feel like people really attain towards the end of that program? What can they look forward to?
At the end, definitely, we find closure and healing on whatever issue brought them in originally. Navigating through those challenges, and also learning how to shift their mindset from a negative self-talk to positive self-talk. We also want to work on them feeling that they have increased their emotional well-being. So that's important. The clients that I've worked with, their report is that they love themselves. They report feeling happier in their lives, and that's the ultimate goal, right? Is to experience peace and to heal from the things that are keeping you in one place, and to transition to a more positive and stronger and transformative emotional well-being.
Got it. No, I love that. That's
Mhm.
good. Okay. And
Mhm.
so you taking this path now,
Mhm.
as you have children, would you want your children to do something similar or do you want them to do their own thing?
I think if they want to be a coach, I'm okay with that. But they are allowed to think independently for themselves and make that choice of what they want to do. I'm not gonna be, that typical Caribbean parent. You're going to medical school. No, no, no. I'm gonna let them, decide what they want to do and support them.
Got it.
Mhm.
Okay. So good, supportive parent and coach. We love that. But Cleo, definitely thank you for just coming on Attractive Mindset. As you can
Thank you.
tell, you have a very attractive mindset and
Thank you.
just, I love the fact that you help people and, you've came all the way over here. We taking your time and
Yeah.
we really do appreciate that. And
Thank
so
you.
again, guys, if you want to tap in with her, where can they find you again?
coachingwithcleo.com. That's, you can go straight there and go directly to booking a consultation with me.
There we go. And
Hmm.
so if you know somebody that may need her services, or just please just like, share, subscribe. And as we always say, it's Moneybag Rich here, Mastermind Rich as well. And we look good, we live good, life is good. Talk to us, we talk back, and we're out of here.